Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So Caleb Plant, he passes the eye test. However, is he going to be another Rashidi Ellis? Now, huge contrast between Plant and Ellis as far as accomplishments in boxing. But there are some congruencies between the two when you look at Rashidi Ellis deciding to really step up against more of a pressure fighter who had stamina at the end in the championship rounds and was able to touch up Ellis and get him out of there. So when you look at Caleb Plant, I don't think he's going to have stamina issues, but he tends to slow down around that 8th, 9th, 10th round. He'll slow down those championship rounds. David Benavidez has shown he keeps pushing through. But the thing here is to understand, when you're dealing with a guy like Caleb Plant, now we know he's a master boxer, but I would like to categorize him more as a boxer puncher style, because he obviously has some pop. And with this new trainer, kind of like what Tyson Fury did, he decided to sit down on his punches a little bit more. And his trainer even said, look, I didn't realize he hit so hard. So the trainer wanted to bring a little bit of that out in Caleb Plant, and it showed up in the Ellis fight. They had worked feverishly on throwing that hook to the body and coming back up top. Now, we saw with Caleb Plant, he tried it several times during the fight, but he was throwing it too fast. They went back to the corner. He and the coach had a conversation, told him keep boxing, doing your thing. But then when you do throw it, you throw it to the body, wait a split second, then explode upstairs. Give him enough time to think that you're done getting yours off. And when he opens up, you can blind him with that shot upstairs and maybe potentially get him out of there. And that's exactly what Caleb Plant did. But the thing about Caleb Plant and him being a boxer puncher, right? He that kind of style that Caleb Plant has, I think, grown into, and what he's been working on in this training camp for Benavidez, right? He's definitely going to come out, and I think people are going to be surprised. I know a lot of people feel Benavidez is going to steamroll him, but what I'm going to say is this now. He has really developed into a kind of boxer puncher style. Now, when you think about the boxer puncher, right? It's like you're mixing 3 other styles. You know what I'm saying? That's really like you're bringing several other styles together. And it's most like the outboxer, but there are times when they will go for the heavy hits like a slugger and apply constant pressure, like what I like to call as a swarmer. You know what I'm saying? Now, what we were used to seeing with Caleb Plant is being more of an outer boxer. Boxing fully on the outside, being for the most part an out fighter. Rashidi Ellis was for the most part an outer fighter, being on the outside. Ellis didn't necessarily show me anything about him being a boxer puncher, but Caleb Plant definitely has shown me that, and he's worked on that in his training camp, especially with his having that strength and conditioning coach Victor Conti there, and with that being the focus, him, the trainer, strength and conditioning coach, is being able to have more power, just like the same thing with Benavidez, working on power. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Caleb Plant is going to box mid-range. Okay, he's going to use the 22-foot ring, but he's going to box mid-range. All right, that's what's going to happen. He's going to step in close when he wants to deliver more punches, and this is what can be a little bit dangerous for him. But what's going to happen is when he's going from boxing to the outside to mid-range, and picking and choosing when he wants to come in close, right? And then changing it up. He may go mid-range, outside, then he wants to step in close. So when he's changing it up like that, that's going to make it hard for Benavidez to box against him. I don't care how good Benavidez can make reads, how good his timing is. We know he's a pressure stalker type fighter. But I'm going to tell you this. I honestly feel what we're going to see on Saturday is Caleb Plant is going to be able to match David Benavidez' style with him being able to be on the outside mid-range and come in close when he wants to. And I think that's going to frustrate Benavidez. And I think that's going to give Caleb Plant a huge advantage because he can apply whatever style he wants as long as he remains intelligent. Now, if David Benavidez was a no-kidding, straight-up brawler, like a Marcos Maidana, come in just looking to throw wild right hands coming down on top of your head, throwing elbows, a Ricardo Mayorga type guy, see, that's where you can get in trouble. Because those guys, I mean, they're so unorthodox and crazy. Those are the ones that can hurt you. But Benavidez is not that. That's why I don't like when people describe Benavidez as a brawler. He's not a brawler. But I do think you're gonna see some times where he may have to, about after that 6th round when he's losing, his dad may tell him, just look, go after it. He may have to brawl. Because that may be what gets him the most success, is to just fight him. You know what I'm saying? But when we talk about it, right, some people may call a guy like Caleb Plant or these guys like Tank Davis, fighter punchers or, I call them boxer punchers, but some may call them intelligent sluggers. But look. I think we're going to see some of the traits of all of those styles of fighting from Caleb Plant. The thing is, what happens when Caleb Plant gets hit? Because in this fight, he can't just sit there and be an outer boxer the whole fight. He's going to have to come in. He's going to have to touch him. He's going to have to convincingly win rounds. He just can't come out here, man, and think it's a tickling contest and touch him here and there, coochie coo him, and then get back on your bicycle. Caleb Plant is going to do like what we just talked about. He's going to have to be on the outside, mid-range, and step in close. Like, that's what he's going to have to do. But the thing about Caleb Plant that makes it so interesting, this is why I say we're going to find out if he's a Rashidi Ellis. Because Caleb Plant, his hand speed is exceptional. He has a great jab. As far as being a counterpuncher, he's an amazing counterpuncher. And his defense is pretty solid. Now, people say, oh, well, Canelo knocked him out. That Caleb Plant that fought Canelo is not the same Caleb Plant today. I'm not saying Benavidez can't knock him out, just like I'm not going to say Caleb Plant can't knock David Benavidez out. It's a fight. Plant 6'1", Benavidez 6'2". These guys are going to weigh in 168. Probably coming to the ring close to 190. Who knows? But it just takes one punch. We saw it with the Darrell fight. Okay? And you saw what Benavidez does to opponents. Once he starts to touch him, the fight changes. Look at what he did to Jalen Love. Jalen Love is no slouch. He's not afraid of anybody. But once he got touched, the fight changed. Now, I'm going to tell you this right here, right? There are going to be times in this fight where Plant, I just think he's going to have to go hard on the offense. And when I say go hard, I mean he's going to have to let go more punches than maybe what we're used to seeing to get his respect up front. And he's going to look more like a swarmer type fighter. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you just wouldn't normally see in a guy like Plant, who outside, even in the Darrell fight, for the majority of the fight, he was more of a guy standing on the outside of the ring being an outer boxer. But he was going mid-range and he was closing the distance too. But we're going to see him here at some points. I think he's going to have to do that. It's important for him to get his respect early, because if Benavidez feels he can just throw the high guard up and walk Caleb Plant down, Caleb Plant could be in trouble. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Caleb Plant could be, because I got to be fair, he could be a bit of a high risk going into this fight. What I mean high risk, like someone who could end up losing, kind of like Rashidi Ellis, where he knows he can knock people out. He saw what he could do when he sits down on his punches. And he knows what David Benavidez, Benavidez has pretty good defense. He doesn't have the best defense. So that tells Caleb Plant there are going to be opportunities there for him to land shots and probably win by knockout or even get a TKO of Benavidez, right? Like, we got to be real. There's a chance. But more than likely, I think going into this fight, if Plant was to hurt him, he won't be able to get the knockout if he's being on the outside of the ring and just, for the most part, pop shot in Benavidez. He's going to have to get in close, and he's going to have to let his hands go and hold his ground. But that comes at an extremely high risk, which probably won't favor Caleb Plant. But then again, it just depends. And I'm telling you, a guy like Benavidez can be an extremely hard style to face. But you got to get that respect. But again, for Benavidez to face Plant, a boxer puncher, look, man, only a slugger really has a chance to knock out someone like Caleb Plant. Benavidez is not, to me, he's not really a slugger. He can be, but he's not really a slugger. This guy throws very impressive, powerful combinations, but he's exactly what I said. He's one of those pressure stalkers. And once he gets closer within range, he lets his hands go. And David Benavidez isn't just a guy who's in there mauling you and slugging and being reckless. No, he is very, he has a concentrated effort when he's in that ring. I'm telling you, there's strategy behind what David Benavidez does. I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity to get off on him because Anthony Durrell stood in front of David Benavidez. You know, other fighters have stood in front of David Benavidez. And it just doesn't work that way. And Caleb Plant's not going to do that. He may be there for a moment in time, but he's going to move. Remember, there's a 22-foot ring. You know, how is Benavidez going to sit here and cut Caleb Plant off, the master mover, master boxer, boxer puncher? I mean, this isn't Tim Tszyu against Tony Harrison, where Tony Harrison was in a damn matchbox trying to keep the Aussie off of him. This is, I mean, the circumstances here are totally different. This is what's happening here with Caleb Plant and David Benavidez is almost like Ryan Garcia and Tank, where Ryan Garcia conceded to everything that Tank was asking for. David Benavidez and his dad, it sounds like they conceded to everything that Caleb Plant asked for. So the advantage goes to Tank Davis and the advantage goes to Caleb Plant. That's David Benavidez's fault. So don't start whining, which we've heard him complain a little bit, but he said he wanted to fight that bad. So it is what it is, man. But David Benavidez is going to have to try to use his strengths to dictate the fight rather than allowing Caleb Plant to switch styles, change levels, change the distance in the ring, change speed. You know what I'm saying? Because if he allows Caleb Plant to do that, Caleb Plant will punish him. Simple, man. Don't be biased. Sit here and strip the emotion away and let's be fair about this. Caleb Plant, if he's allowed to switch his styles, switch levels, switch distance, switch speeds, his power punch selection, he will punish David Benavidez. David Benavidez has a lot of strengths. He's going to have to use that. And you saw with Roman Villa and Rashidi Ellis. Roman Villa knew what his strengths were. And he stuck to that. And the one thing that Roman Villa had over Rashidi Ellis, which I think is going to be the determining factor between Plant and Benavidez, is stamina. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Plant's going to have to keep that fight at a distance. You know what I'm saying? His arms are just as long as Benavidez. So he's going to keep up with his little typical mid-range reach. And he will, when he has the opportunity, step in to close the gap. That's what boxer punchers do. Okay? Now this is going to force Benavidez to step back or to defend. If he can't counter him, but he has fast hands, he could counter Plant. But then again, Plant's going to be on the front foot. And if he ends up pushing Benavidez back and Plant's on the front foot, you could see a knockout. And I'm talking about Benavidez. But that's much easier said than done. Much easier said than done. Okay? But remember, there's a lot of fighters out here with different styles, but those guys who are boxer punchers, like Caleb Plant, this man can fight pretty much at any distance and up close. And if he can actually come in and when the time is right, be the aggressor stepping forward to get close, and Benavidez isn't smart enough to step out on an angle to get out of the line of fire, I tell you what, Caleb Plant's going to have some success. And I'm telling you what, I don't even think David Benavidez is going to be able to try to out punch or punch with Caleb Plant, because I think he's going to get countered. I think he's going to get countered. He's going to get frustrated. You know, it's hard when you got a guy like David Benavidez, who I call the pressure stalker, man, to try to really get an advantage over this boxer puncher who can really change styles during the fight and do so many different things. It's hard if you're one-dimensional. And I think David Benavidez is talented. I think he's very effective at what he does, but I think he's one-dimensional. And he has heavy feet. And he's in a 22-foot ring. So again, it's going to really boil down to stamina. But I just think when you talk about a guy like Caleb Plant, let me tell you, the man has power. And he can box at mid-range, he can step in close, he can stay on the outside, and he picks and chooses when he wants to deliver his shots. Now we're talking about some different boxer punchers. I mean, hell, you go back to a guy like Ezra Charles, or you can look today like a guy like Tank Davis. Tank Davis will stay on the outside. He'll be an outside fighter when he has to, then he'll come mid-range, and then he'll pick and choose when he wants to close the distance. And then he'll let his shots go. Some people are talking about Tank's a pressure stalker. No, he can do that. But yes, once he sees what an opponent has, then he makes a decision, okay, I can walk him down. But if he can't, you'll see what Tank did, like with Rolly Romero. Tank was like, nah. What Tank did with, what's his name, Pitbull Cruz, Tank was like, nah. Okay? And Canelo Alvarez, you know, he's definitely a boxer puncher. You know, the last few years he's kind of settled down and been more like a pressure stalker. But we know Canelo Alvarez, man, he's definitely a good example of a guy who's a boxer puncher and who can be on the outside. We've seen him do it. We've seen him get buzzed before and go and get up on his toes and move around. Are you guys saying when? Or how about when he fought Jose Cotto? Canelo Alvarez was floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. He almost got his butt knocked out. Okay? But again, when you got guys like Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez, Tank Davis, if they can step to you, if they can touch you, they will. They will go from being the outer boxer to being the guy who's more of the slugger, the brawler. And then if that can't work, they'll just go and just change distances. Mid-range, step in close, go back out on the angle, maybe drop a check left hook in, lead left hook in, counter you, straight right, jab to the body, mix it up. And I just think that's what Caleb Plant's going to do. So at the end of the day, when you have these two contrasting styles, the way I describe Benavidez is the pressure stalker. And Caleb Plant, to me, is no kidding a boxer puncher. I think that makes for a super exciting fight, man. Super exciting fight. Because you're going to see so many different styles in one fight. And I'm talking about everything Plant brings to the table and Benavidez. But Caleb Plant's going to have to take risks. And, you know, if he didn't show that he does have some kind of power, and we know he has speed, but the fact that he does have some power that I don't think we realize, look, it may not be that hard for him to fight in that style as the boxer puncher against Benavidez. But we're going to find out early if he gets Benavidez respect. Extremely versatile style that Caleb Plant has worked on in his camp. And he can change his fight strategy at any moment based on what David Benavidez is bringing to him in the ring, which I would just say is David Benavidez or his opponent's style. It is what it is. That being said, that's my 2 cents. Caleb Plant passes the eye test. He's been putting in work in camp. But are we going to find out if he's another Rashidi Ellis? Or is Caleb Plant really that diversified fighter who can change his styles up? He can adapt to what his opponent bringing to the ring, which is David Benavidez. And can he get his respect early, outbox Benavidez, and maybe at some point in the fight show that he's worked on his power and holding the ground and possibly knock Benavidez out? But again, he's going to have to take risks. We know Benavidez has super fast hands. He's powerful, and he is vicious. He's going to come in there looking to hurt Caleb Plant. They both talked about, basically beating the crap out of each other, but Benavidez has been a bit more specific about breaking ribs, breaking a jaw, put him in the hospital. A lot of emotion there behind the words coming from David Benavidez. But I just think this may be the fight that nobody wants to miss. If you don't have a way to watch it, order it on pay-per-view. This may be actually the fight of the year because there's so much going on into it. That being said, y'all keep cool. I'm rolling with Plant on this one. But at the same time, I could totally understand why people are choosing Benavidez. From watching these guys in camp, they've worked on a lot of different things. They've tried to evolve their styles. They're getting themselves to be in a 100% shape, physically, mentally, spiritually. And I'm just rooting for Plant on this one. I think he's the ring, the boxing style, the type of training, having Conti, Benavidez having Heredia. I really think that Plant's not going to get fatigued. He's not going to get tired. And I think he's going to be able to fight hard from the first second of the first round to the last second of the 12th round, just like Benavidez. But as a result, it's going to give Plant the opportunity to stay on the outside when he needs to and get into the mid-range when he needs to and close the gap when he wants to and get his shots off when he wants to. And I think that's going to frustrate Benavidez and it's going to make the fight even easier for Plant because Benavidez's strategy could go out the window. It's one thing for your coach to tell you something. It's different when you're actually in the ring fighting. I can tell you that from experience. Anyone who's just sparred, you can be in there sparring and you get hit real hard or someone that's fast hands, you go back to your corner and whoever's in your corner, this is just sparring and they're telling you, do this, do this, do that. And you're hearing them, but you're like, shit, you ain't in here going through this. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. We're going to find out if Plant's another Rashidi Ellis. But I don't think so. I'm in the breeze.